Let's tune this up. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopadana Mohan, Jai Mukunda Radha, Giri Govardhan, Kalindita Muna Jaya Jaya Bhagavat, Keshigata Vapshi Bhakta Swadasakana Yakir Koila Shri Nanda Jashoda Jaya Jaya Gopaka Shri Ramani Jaya Jaya Dena Vatsa Jaya Rishabhan Jaya Kitira Sundare Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Bira Agare Jaya Jaya Gopi Shara Vrindavana Mas Jaya Jaya Krishna Sakha Bhattudri Shuras Jaya Ram Kata Jaya Rodini Nanda Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Se Yata Jana Jaya Dvijapatni Jaya Nakakanya Aptataya Gara Pailo Govinda Jara Shri Rasa Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Jaya Jaya Rasa Lila Sarva Manura Jayo Jayo Jala Rasa Sarva Rasa Shara Harakiya Paveda Prajate Prachar Shri Janava Pada Padma Gauriyat Smaran Dina Krishna Tasa Kohe Nama Sankirtan Jai Ho Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Paracharya All Satana Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Savaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Parem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasili Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shyama Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturam Ki Jai Jagadadha Swami Ki Jai Munamai Ki Jai Shrimati Galasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Budale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarni. All right, we read the translation. All glorious to Radha and Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavan. All glorious to the three presiding deities of Vrindavana, Shri Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan. All glorious to Shaimakund, Radhakund, Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna River, Kalindi. All glorious to the great forest known as Mahavana. All glorious to Keshigat, the Vamshivat tree, and the 12 forests of Braj. At these places, the son of Nanda, Shri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glorious to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glorious to the cowherd boys headed by Sri Rama. All glories to the cows and calves of Braja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Vrishabhanu and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamasi, the mother of Sandipani Muni. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Braja. All glories to Gopishwara Shiva, who resides in Vrindavan in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmin friend, Madhumangal. All glories to Ramagat, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all the residents of Vrindavan. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Through pure devotion, they all obtain the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the Rasa dance of Sri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shama. All glories to the divine Rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all Lord Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the mellow of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas, and is propagated in Braja by Sri Krishna in the form of the divine Padakya Bhava. Remembering the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda's consort, Sri Janava Devi, this very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna, sings the Sankirtan of the holy name. Jai Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. So, we will continue reading the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and we're in a very interesting part of the Chaitanya Bhagavat right now. This part deals with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's first wife, Lakshmi Priya, leaving her body feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya when Lord Chaitanya was in East Bengal preaching Krishna consciousness, or actually teaching, not preaching at this particular juncture. So he was in East Bengal, and she, out of separation, couldn't bear living without him. And so she left a replica body, and in her spiritual body, she went to join Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu where he was, unseen by others. So we're at the point right now where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is apparently not aware of this, and he's getting ready to come back to Navadvip after being in East Bengal. So we will continue. Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. And we will share the screen. So chapter 14 in the Adi Kanda, beginning with text 114. And we're just reading the English now rather than the Bengali. So, I have to set up one thing on my desktop. Oh, give me 1 second. Just so I'm alerted to anything that may arise. All right, there we go. After taking leave from them, Lord Gauranga happily started from home, taking leave from the people in East Bengal, which is now known as Bangladesh. And it's described previously that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed in the Padmavati River for a long period of time, just like he bathed in the Ganges. And of course, that Padmavati River, sometimes called the Padma River, is similar or is close to where Narottama Das Thakur took birth, and Narottama Das Thakur would regularly bathe in that Padma River. And by bathing in the Padma River, he received the blessings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and became imbued with pure love of God. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is leaving East Bengal and now coming home to Navadvip. And what is he going to discover when he gets home? So, first of all, many students came to Navadvip with the Lord to continue studying with him. Meanwhile, a pious swan-like Brahmin named Tapan Mishra arrived there. So, of course, Tapan Mishra had a lot to do with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's later pastimes. He was confused about the goal of life and the means for attaining it. Moreover, he could not find anyone to clear his confusion. Interesting. He silently chanted his Krishna mantra day and night, but since he was not practicing other important limbs of devotional service, he could not achieve peace. It's interesting. Other important limbs. Bhavate, I began to read the Bengali again. While disturbed in this way, late one night, the fortunate Brahmin had an auspicious dream. A demigod appeared before the Brahmin Tapan Mishra and began to tell him some confidential topics. O sober Brahmana, please listen. Steady your mind and do not worry. Go to Nimai Pandit. He will explain to you the goal of life and the means for attaining it. He's not an ordinary human being. He is Narayan himself. He's performing his pastimes as a human being to deliver the people of the world. Don't disclose these facts to anyone, for this information is confidential even to the Vedas. If you do, you'll be unhappy birth after birth. Oh my God. You got all these threats there. So I guess I shouldn't preach Krishna consciousness. No, I have to do it. Even if I'm unhappy, we have to save people. As the demigod disappeared, the Brahmin woke from his sleep. After seeing that auspicious dream, he began to cry. Recovering from his trance, he exclaimed, "What good luck!" Then immediately he left to see the Lord. As the enchanting Sri Gaurasundara was sitting with his students on the bank of the Padmavati River, he's still in East Bengal, Chaitanya Mysra came there and fell at his feet. He got up before everyone with his hands folded. The Brahmana said, "I am the most fallen wretched. Please deliver me from this material existence by your merciful glance. I am ignorant of the goal of life and the means for attaining it. Therefore, kindly explain this to me. I do not find any pleasure in material sense enjoyment. Therefore, O merciful Lord, please tell me how I can find relief." The Lord replied, "O Brahmana, what can be said about your good fortune? Since you wish to worship Krishna, that is quite sufficient." Worship of the Supreme Lord, however, is difficult to achieve. The Lord himself personally teaches the principles of religion for the age. He incarnates to establish 4 different religious principles in the 4 different ages, and thereafter he returns to his own abode to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. Vinashaya Chadushkutam. Prityanaya Saranam Vinashaya Chadushkutam. Well, obviously. That's Bhagavad Gita. Your son Krishna appears as an incarnation every millennium. In the past, he assumed 3 different colors, white, red, and yellow, and now he has appeared in blackish color. In another Dwapara Yuga, he appeared as Lord Ramchandra. That's interesting. In the color of Sukha apparent, generally we're taught that Lord Ramchandra appeared in Treta Yuga. That's very interesting. All such, anyway, I guess in different places, it might be a Dwapara Yuga. All such incarnations have now assembled in Krishna. All right, next verse. The Yuga Dharma for the age of Kali is the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. The 4 religious principles for the 4 ages are all meant for the deliverance of the conditioned souls. I'll just read the Bengali. Kali Yuga Dharma Haya Nama Sankirtan. Chari Yuge Chari Dharma Jivera Karana. Whatever result was obtained in Sachi Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, and Treta Yuga by performing sacrifice, and Dwapara Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Yes, they reversed yugas when Lord Chaitanya appeared, but only Lord Ramchandra only appears in the yuga cycle when Lord Chaitanya appeared. So, not a good argument. There's someone posted a message there. Lord Ramchandra only appears in that same yuga cycle. So there's Lord Ram, Krishna appears, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. So therefore, the essence of all religious principles in the age of Kali is the sacrifice of chanting. It's not that the Lord Rama appears in every cycle of ages, just like Krishna doesn't appear in every cycle of ages. Therefore, the essence of all religious principles in the age of Kali is the sacrifice of chanting the holy names of the Lord. One cannot be delivered by following any other religious principles. Adi Vasa. The Vedas are unable to fully describe the glories of one who chants the Lord's names day and night, while even eating and sleeping. Wow. So we should aspire for this. Please listen, dear Mishra. There is no other austerity or sacrifice prescribed in this age of Kali. One who worships Krishna is most fortunate. Therefore, go back to your home and worship Lord Krishna with full attention, giving up all duplicity. By congregational chanting the holy names, you achieve everything, including the goal of life and the means for attaining it, says Saja and the sadhana. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This verse is called the Maha Mantra. It contains 16 holy names of the Lord composed of 32 syllables. And don't we all know that? Hopefully. If you continually chant this Maha Mantra, the seed of love of God will sprout in your heart. Then you will understand the goal of life and the process for achieving it. After hearing these instructions from the mouth of the Lord, Tapan Mishra, the best of the Brahmanas, repeatedly offered obeisances to the Lord. Tapan Mishra then said, "Please allow me to live with you." And the Lord replied, "You should immediately go to Varanasi." Varanasi is a place in Mayavadis, actually. It's called Kashi, the place of Lord Shiva. "I will meet you there and explain to you the truths about the goal of life and the process for attaining it." So, Varanasi is pretty far away from East Bengal. Really far away. Like 1,000 miles or something like that. Or maybe even more. So he's sending him to a place of Mayavadis to set him up so that when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes sannyas, Lord Chaitanya can go there and give him instructions. The Lord then embraced him and also gave instructions to Sinatana Goswami. The Lord then embraced him, and out of ecstatic love, the hairs of Tapan Mishra stood on end. Tapan Mishra felt spiritual ecstasy after receiving the Lord of Vaikuntha's embrace. At the time of departure, he caught hold of the Lord's feet and confidentially described the incident of his dream. The Lord smiled and said, "Whatever you have dreamt is true, but don't disclose this to anyone." The Lord again forbade Tapan Mishra from disclosing accounts of his dream to anyone, and at an auspicious moment, he smiled and got up to leave. In this way, Lord Gauranga purified the land of East Bengal and then returned home. Acting like an ordinary person, the Lord returned home in the evening with a large load of gifts that he had received. Upon arriving home, the Lord offered obeisances at the feet of his mother and then gave her the gifts and wealth. The Lord and his students then immediately went to the Ganges to take bath. Mother Sachi immediately began to cook, although she and the other family members were all aggrieved. The Lord is the instructing spiritual master of everyone. He therefore led his students in offering repeated obeisances to the Ganges. After enjoying the beauty of the Ganges and sporting in the waters for some time, the Lord returned home. Lord Gauranga then performed his exemplary daily worship and sat down to eat. After the Lord of Vaikuntha ate with satisfaction, he went and sat at the door of the temple room. At that time, Nimai's family members came and sat around him to speak with him. In their company, while laughing and conversing, the Lord described how he happily spent his days in East Bengal. He hasn't heard right now how his wife passed away. The Lord burst into laughter as he imitated the pronunciation speaking of the people of East Bengal. Knowing that the Lord would feel distressed, his relatives did not disclose to him about the disappearance of Lakshmi. After passing some time with the Lord, the relatives left for their respective homes. The Lord laughed and joked as he sat and chewed betel. Meanwhile, the grief-stricken mother Sachi remained out of his sight inside the house. The Lord then personally went before his mother and saw that she was looking morose. He then sweetly said to his mother, "Oh, mother, I see you are very sad. Please tell me the reason. I successfully returned from a distant place, and you should be happy. But on the contrary, I find you are distressed. Please tell me the reason." Hearing her son's words, Mother Sachi looked at the ground and began to weep. Overcome by grief, she was unable to reply. The Lord said, "Dear mother, I know everything. Perhaps your daughter-in-law has met with some misfortune." Then everyone replied, "Listen, O Pandit, your wife has indeed left this world." When Lord Gauranga heard about the disappearance of his wife, he bent his head down and remained silent for a while. The Lord, who is the personification of the Vedas, accepted the misery of separation from his wife and remained silent. After he lamented as an ordinary man for some time, he began to speak with patience. What's this? Who in this material world is the husband, son, or friend of whom? Actually, no one is related with anyone. Nescience alone is the cause of this misunderstanding. The Lord said, "O mother, why are you feeling so sad? Who can check what is destined to happen?" Heavy words. Such is the current of time. No one is related to anyone else. Therefore, the Vedas declare this material world is temporary. All universes are under the control of the Supreme Lord, who other than the Supreme Lord can unite or separate people. Pretty heavy. These are absolutely true. Therefore, whatever has happened by the desire of the Supreme Lord was destined. Why should you lament? Who is more fortunate and pious than a woman who leaves her body before her husband dies? In this way, the Lord pacified his mother and then carried on with his duties in the company of his friends. On hearing the Lord's nectarian words, everyone was relieved of all lamentation. Thus, Sri Gaurahari, the Lord of Vaikuntha, happily enjoyed scholastic pastimes in Navadvip. Accepting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the English translation of the Adi Vasa commentary on Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Kanda, chapter 14, entitled The Lord's Travel to East Bengal and the Disappearance of Lakshmi Priya. And as I mentioned before, Lakshmi Priya is always with the Lord. She is the internal potency of the Lord. It's never separated, but it appears to be for the sake of pastime and for the sake of the mood of separation. But just like Radharani is never separate from Krishna, Sita is never separated from Ram. So now we're going to read about the marriage with Vishnu Priya, chapter 15. I'm going to skip the chapter summary like I normally do so we don't get ahead of ourselves. All glories to Shri Gaurachandra and all glories to Shri Nityananda. Please give your lotus feet in charity to my heart. What a prayer. The words Dana Deha mean distraught mercy or compassion. All glories to Shri Gauranga with his associates. One who hears the topics of Lord Chaitanya attains devotional service of the Lord. As the Lord remained absorbed in scholastic pastimes in this way, he lived incognito without revealing himself to anyone. The Lord performed his daily worship in the early morning, and after offering obeisances to his mother, he left for school. Okay. Mukunda Sanjay was the Lord's servant for many lifetimes. His son was known as Purushottama Das. Gaurachandra daily went to teach at the house of this fortunate person. The Lord arrived first and sat in Chandi Mandapa, that means the Durga temple that's outside the house. Thereafter, the students would gradually arrive there. So, the Chandi Mandapa it's a tradition in Bengal that even if you're worshiping Vishnu, you would have a small shrine to Chandi or Durga outside your house. During this period, sometimes by chance a student would forget to mark his forehead with tilak. This is really interesting. So you'll hear how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu responded. This is really, really interesting. So the purport, there's a lot of description of tilak. So we're going to skip that and just get to the Lord Chaitanya's response. Whoops. As Sanatana Dharma himself, the Lord establishes the principles of religion in order to protect people's religious principles. He would not tolerate any transgression. The very moment such a delinquent appeared, the Lord would put him to such shame that he would never again come without first completing his morning worship. The Lord would say, "Oh, brother, I do not see any tilak on your forehead. What is your explanation?" The Vedas say that if a Brahmin's forehead is not decorated with tilak, it is as good as a crematorium. So here's the quote. "I can understand that you have not performed your daily worship. Therefore, dear brother, your mourning has become fruitless. Go back home and perform your morning duties again. Then you may return to study." In this way, all the Lord's students were conscientious about performing their religious duties. Like this, the Lord jokingly found fault with everyone. No one was spared from the Lord's teasing remarks. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, never joked with others' wives. As soon as he saw a woman coming, he would immediately give her ample room to pass without talking. The Lord particularly teased the residents of Shrihat by mimicking their pronunciation. He has a sense of humor. God has a sense of humor. In anger, they responded, where are you from? Tell us the truth. Tell us, aren't your parents and forefathers born in Shrihat? You yourself are born as the son of a resident of Shrihat. So why do you tease us? The Lord did not heed whatever they said. Rather, he would continue to mimic their pronunciation and manner of speaking. He would continue to tease the residents of Shrihat until they became furious. Eventually, one of them would chase the Lord in great anger. Being unable to catch him, however, he was frustrated and began abusing the Lord with harsh words. Sometimes someone caught the Lord by his dhoti and took him to a local Muslim authority to register a complaint. That is so funny. Ultimately, the Lord's friends would come and negotiate a settlement. Another day, the Lord secretly waited outside the house of a resident of Shrihat. As soon as he got the opportunity, he entered the house, broke some dry gourds, and then ran away in fear. Oh my God. He's really rambunctious. In this way, the Lord created mischief for everyone, but he did not even look at women from the corner of his eyes. It's only bothering the men, so the ladies don't have to worry. It is well known throughout the world that the Lord in this incarnation did not even hear the word woman, because he was going to take sannyas. Therefore, great personalities do not offer prayers addressing the Lord as Gauranga Nagara, the enjoyer of damsels. Although all kinds of prayers may be offered to the Supreme Lord, intelligent persons glorify only those characteristics that a particular incarnation manifests. In this way, the Lord of Vaikuntha enjoyed his scholastic pastimes in the house of Mukunda Sanjay. Krishna is the enjoyer. Brajendra Nandana is the enjoyer. Like that. Of the gopis, not Lord Chaitanya. The Lord happily taught while sitting amidst various groups of his students. Sometimes when the need arose, the Lord had a servant massage his head with medicated oil while he continued giving his unique explanations. The Lord, who is the reservoir of transcendental qualities, would teach from early morning till noon. Then he would go for a bath in the Ganges. In this way, the Lord regularly taught and studied up to midnight. Phew. Therefore, whoever studied under the Lord for 1 year would become a learned scholar who understood the conclusions of the scriptures. Wow. As the Lord thus enjoyed scholastic pastimes, Mother Sachi continually meditated on getting her son remarried. Mother Sachi was constantly searched throughout Navadvip for a suitable bride for her son. In Navadvip there resided one most fortunate and compassionate devotee named Sri Sinatana Mysra. He was simple-hearted, magnanimous, expert in entertaining guests, and always engaged in welfare activities. Moreover, he was truthful, he controlled his senses, he had a good birth, and he was famous as the Raj Pandit. That means the priest of the king. Sinatana Mysra hailed from a well-to-do family, so he easily maintained many other people. Sinatana Mysra's daughter had all auspicious characteristics. She was like the personification of Lakshmi, the mother of the universe. As soon as Mother Sachi saw her, she immediately thought that she was a suitable bride for her son. From her childhood, that girl took bath in the Ganges 2 or 3 times a day. She had no engagement other than serving her father, mother, and Lord Vishnu. She regularly met and offered her humble obeisances to Mother Sachi at the Ganges bathing ghat. Mother Sachi happily blessed her, "May Krishna bless you with a suitable husband." Then, as Mother Sachi took her bath, she thought, "May this girl be married with my son." Sinatana Mysra and his relatives also desired that she be married to the Lord. One day, Sachi was inspired to call Kashinath Pandit, he's the marriage broker, to her home. Thereupon, she said to him, "Dear sir, please listen to my request. Go tell Sinatana Mysra if he desires he may give his daughter to my son." Kashinath Pandit immediately left for the house of Sinatana Mysra while chanting the names of Durga and Krishna. Seeing Kashinath, Sinatana Mysra respectfully offered him an asana, that means a seat. Feeling greatly honored, Sinatana Mysra completed all formalities and inquired, "Dear brother, what brings you here?" Kashinath replied, "I have a proposal for you. If you find it proper, then please accept it. Please give your daughter's hand in marriage to Vishwambara Pandit. I feel it is a perfect match. He is a qualified husband for your daughter, and your chaste daughter is a qualified wife for him. Vishnu Priya and Nimai Pandit are as suitable a match as Krishna and Rukmini were." Little did he know, that's a fact. After hearing the proposal, Sinatana Mysra discussed it with his wife and relatives to find out their opinion. They replied, "What is the need for further discussion? You should immediately arrange the marriage." The Raj Pandit then happily spoke to Kashinath Pandit. "O Brahmana, I will certainly give my daughter in marriage to Vishwambara Pandit. If my family is fortunate, then my daughter will be married to him. So please go there and inform them of my decision. I again confirm that I have accepted the proposal." Feeling satisfied, Kashinath Mysra returned to Mother Sachi and told her everything. Mother Sachi was pleased to hear that her proposal was accepted, and she began to make the necessary arrangements. When the Lord's students heard the news of his marriage arrangement, they were all filled with joy. Buddhimanta Khan was first to speak. "I will bear the entire expenditure of this marriage." Nice having rich friends, isn't it? So Mukunda Sanjay then said, "Listen, my friend, if you bear all expenses, then what will I do?" Buddhimanta Khan replied, "Listen, my dear brother, this marriage will not be like a Brahmin's marriage, which is generally very simple. I will make such an arrangement for the marriage of Nimai Pandit that he will appear like a prince in the eyes of the people." Thereafter, everyone agreed on an auspicious day and time to observe the Adi Vasa ceremony. Adi Vasa means it signifies the beginning of a particular program, ceremony, ritual, etc. like that. A huge pandal was erected with banana leaves placed in 4 directions. They decorated the marriage arena with water pots, ghee lamps, rice patty, yogurt, mango leaves, and other auspicious items. They further decorated the arena with designs drawn with colored flowers. All the Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, and respectable people of Navadvip were invited. Come in the afternoon and chew the pan of the Adi Vasa ceremony. In the afternoon on the day of the Adi Vasa, the musicians all began to play their instruments. The playing of various instruments like mridanga, shanai, jayadhaka, and karatalas created a tumultuous sound. Prabhupada really liked the shanai. When Prabhupada was present, he had the shanai music played over the loudspeakers every morning at sunrise after Mangalarti. It was very beautiful. Yeah, even though the person playing the shanai was a Muslim, his name was Bishmala Khan or something like that. But Prabhupada just loved it. So you see that Prabhupada liked the music that was indigenous to the area. So if someone likes a particular type of music that's indigenous to his or her particular area, that is not bad. Just like I like to play the guitar, and that's indigenous to my area where I grew up. So the professional blessers began to recite prayers, and the chaste women made auspicious sounds. So the professional blessers are people you actually hire to bless you. And actually at funerals, they have professional criers, people who cry for a living. I know people who cry without being paid. As the Brahmanas chanted Vedic mantras, Vishwambara, the crest jewel of the Brahmanas, came and sat in their midst. The Brahmanas sat in groups around the Lord. In this way everyone was overjoyed at heart. Aguru, sandalwood paste, pan, and flower garlands were brought out and offered to the Brahmanas. Garlands were placed on their heads, and their bodies were smeared with sandalwood paste, and each Brahmana was given a box of pan. Nadi was full of Brahmin families, so innumerable Brahmanas were present there. No one could count how many came and went. Among them, some greedy Brahmanas received their gifts and then returned a second time in different dress to again receive gifts. In the ensuing commotion, they thus received sandalwood, paste, pan, and flower garlands a second time. Everyone was intoxicated with ecstasy and thus unable to recognize one another. The Lord also smiled and gave instruction. Give sandalwood, paste, and garlands 3 times to everyone. Don't worry about the expenditure. Give freely to everyone. By this instruction, the Lord indirectly forbade everyone from taking again and again. The Lord continued, if a Brahmin is caught cheating, he'll be criticized and thus disgraced. So in other words, Lord Chaitanya was sarcastic. He knew that people were cheating and he didn't want them to be disgraced like that. It's interesting. Being affectionate to the Brahmanas, the Lord considered if they're given 3 times, they will be fully satisfied. In other words, they won't cheat anymore. All the Brahmanas were happy to receive these gifts 3 times, so none of them further tried to cheat, which is what I said. In this way, no one could understand how the Lord was served by Natashesh in the form of garlands, sandalwood, paste, and pan. What to speak of the gifts that people received? If the gifts fell on the ground during distribution were collected, it would have been sufficient for 5 marriages. Oh my God. Everyone's heart was filled with ecstasy, and they exclaimed, the Adi Vasa ceremony was glorious. We have seen such an Adi Vasa ceremony performed even in the houses of the wealthy. It should be a we have not seen. You know, that wrong translation here. Because Nari Kari Karo Bape. We have not seen such an Adi Vasa ceremony performed even in the house of the wealthiest men of Navadweep. We have never seen anyone distribute sandalwood paste, garlands, and pan so indiscriminately. Carrying ingredients for the Adi Vasa ceremony, Sinatana Mysra joyfully arrived. Haribo. He came accompanied by Brahmins, family members, musicians, dancers, and singers. Following the Vedic injunctions, he then happily applied sandalwood pulp to the Lord's forehead at an auspicious moment. At that time, there arose tumultuous chanting and glorification of Lord Hari, and everyone began reciting mantras. The chaste women made auspicious sounds of uludwani. I guess I can tell you what that is. That's when I first heard that, I thought people were gargling. But that's considered in Bengal a very auspicious sign. The singing and playing of musical instruments filled the entire house with ecstasy. And just like in Mayapur, sometimes when there's a lot of people from the villages there and they're opening the deities up, let's say greeting the deities at whatever, 7:15, 7:30, whatever time, then all the ladies will woo, and you have like thousands of ladies going woo. So men aren't supposed to do it, it's not auspicious. After completing the Adi Vasa ceremony, Sinatana Mysra, the king of the Brahmanas, returned home. Meanwhile, the Lord's family members went to the bride's house to perform the Adi Vasa ceremony there. There's two Adi Vasa ceremonies. One with the brides, one with Lord Chaitanya's family, or one Lord Chaitanya, and the other one at the bride's house. Family members of both the bride and groom also performed the rituals that were in current practice. Early the next morning, the Lord took bath in the Ganges, then worshipped Lord Vishnu. Thereafter, he sat with his family members to perform the Nandi Mukha ceremony. Nandi Mukha is a combination of Nandi, glorification, good fortune, and Mukha, principle, auspicious ceremony. It's part of the, let's see, what it says here. Vaishnavas should not perform this ceremony out of fear of committing offense against the holy name. Wow, he says we should not do it. In order to satisfy one's forefathers, one should remember Lord Vishnu, worship the spiritual master, give cloth and foodstuffs and charity to the Vaishnavas and Brahmas according to one's ability. In this way, one's forefathers will be satisfied. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami says we should not do this ceremony. Interesting. Musical instruments, dancing, and singing created a tumult. On all sides, the sweet sounds of a triumphal rejoicing arose. Water pots, rice paddy, yogurt, ghee lamps, and mango leaves were placed inside and outside of houses. On all sides, various colored flags waved, and strings of mango leaves were tied to banana trees. Mother Sachi and other chaste women then began to perform the various rituals that were incurred in practice. Sachi first happily worshipped the Ganges, and then she went along with a group of musicians to worship goddess Shashti. After worshipping Shashti, she went to the houses of her relatives where she performed the rituals incurred in practice before returning home. So these are just like village rituals. These are not something, we don't have to imitate all this when we do marriages in ISKCON, because these are, village rituals, which is all right. But in different villages, there's different rituals. These are all like details. They're not actually principles of the marriage. They're just details. And in different countries, it could be done differently. Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Thereafter, Sachi satisfied the women with puff rice, bananas, oil, pan, and vermilion. By the influence of the Supreme Lord, all the items multiplied unlimitedly. Thus, Sachi also repeatedly gave the gifts to each woman. The ladies all appeared to have taken bath in oil. There was not a single woman who did not feel complete satisfaction. Meanwhile, in great happiness, at the house of Vishnu Priya, her mother performed the various rituals in current practice. As the Raj Pandit joyfully gave all of his various possessions in charity, he floated in an ocean of bliss. After completing all the prescribed rituals, Shri Gaura Sundar sat down and relaxed for a while. Thereafter, the Lord humbly satisfied all the Brahmanas with foodstuffs and cloth. The Lord respectfully gave everyone charity according to their qualifications. All the Brahmanas affectionately blessed Vishwambara and went inside his house to eat. As the afternoon approached, everyone began to dress the Lord. The Lord's beautiful limbs were smeared with sandalwood pulp, which Uguru had been mixed. His forehead was smeared with sandalwood paste in the shape of a half moon, and an enchanting tilak mark was drawn through it with Uguru. He wore a wonderful crown on his head, and a fragrant flower garland covered his body. He wore fine yellow cloth with 3 corners tucked in, and his beautiful eyes were decorated with kajal. Durva grass was tied with a thread around his right wrist, and he held a mirror and fresh banana leaf in his hands. His ears were adorned with gold earrings, and his arms were decorated with various jeweled ornaments. Tomorrow we will continue. Okay, so now we will take questions in case someone has questions. Let me allow everybody to unmute yourselves. All right, so if you have a question, the standard operating procedure is either you raise your hand. Okay, one person raised their hand. Divyash Singh, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, thank you so much for having us for the Parakrama in Govardhan. It was really
Hare
nice.
Krishna.
So my question is, it's related to reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So when you're reading Srila Prabhupada's books, like not story books, books such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, not like Krishna, uh, books that are like more educational. I mean, Krishna is educational too, but
Silly books. There's no silly books about Prabhupada.
sorry about that. But anyway, my
Now,
question is,
all Prabhupada's books are philosophical. Even when they're story books like Krishna book, they're actually all philosophical.
yeah, sorry about that. That is true.
So
Anyway,
where's the question?
do you have to remember every single purport in his books?
You don't have to. No, it's good to remember the it's good to remember the teachings in the books.
Well, like what
And
happened?
I mean, it's good to if you can remember. I mean, not all of us have photographic memories, but we can remember the import of what Prabhupada is saying, the conclusion of what Prabhupada is saying. We should read Prabhupada's purports, yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
All right. Haribo. So, anybody else have a question? Please raise your hand or type in the text window or unmute yourself. So, Zenny, this is your opportunity to ask a question. If not, we can end early. If no one has a question.
Please accept my obeisance, Srila Gurudev.
Okay, Mr. Gopal. So, what's up?
In one of the verses, it said that Lord Chaitanya or Nimai Vishvambar never even heard the word woman in this incarnation. And yet, a couple of verses later, we're reading about his marriage.
He's talking about people who are, women in general. He wasn't talking about women in general. Obviously, he had a mother too.
Yeah.
So
So please explain this.
no, he never. In other words, there is a little hyperbole there. You don't understand the word hyperbole?
Yes, Gurudev.
So a little hyperbole, which is just, I mean, obviously, he heard the word or woman. It's not to be taken literally. Uh, but he was very careful in his dealings with ladies. That's all. I mean, that's the meaning of it. Not that he only thought that there was one gender. That then it would be like that story of Rishi Shringa. Rishi Shringa didn't even know there was anything such as women, and then one nice, pretty girl sent by King Romapad, not by Godbrother Romapad, but by King Romapad, came to lure him away so the Romapad can cure solve the problem he had in his kingdom, which was no rain. And he didn't understand it was a girl. He thought it was just a pretty looking brahmachari. So Lord Chaitanya was not like that. I mean, obviously, it's a hyperbole to tell you that he didn't have any improper relationships with women. Obviously, he even when he took sannyas, one of his associates, Madhavi, was actually one of his close associates. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talked about the intimate loving exchanges with several different people. Swarup Damodar Goswami, Ramananda Roy, Sikamahiti, and Sikamahiti's sister. Like four people. And Sikamahiti's sister's name was Madhavi. So, Lord Chaitanya was not fanatic. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew, obviously. Okay.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Here's a question. Mother Saraswati is the personification of devotional service and concert of Lord Vishnu. And there's Jiva soul named Mother Saraswati. Yes, there's Lord Brahma's consort. That's right. My question is, when we do Prema Dwani, we say Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. So Bhakti Devi is goddess. No, it's not. Is not goddess Saraswati. Goddess Saraswati is the mother of learning. Bhakti Saraswati is actually expansion. Everyone is expansion. All the Shaktis are expansion of Srimati Radharani, is called the Adi Shakti, including Bhakti Devi. But Bhakti Devi is not God. You know, one says that one's an expansion of the other. Bhakti Devi is the mother of Gyan and Vairagya. No. Bhakti Devi is the mother of Bhakti. And Tulsi Devi is Bhakti Devi, expansion of Bhakti Devi. That's right. And there's actually many Bhakti Devis, but there's an original Bhakti Devi. Bhakti Devi. Okay, Bhakti Devi. But Saraswati is another expansion, and she is in charge of knowledge. Like that. So knowledge, Saraswati. Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharani. Of course, that Saraswati is also a name of, is included in the Pranam mantra of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Okay, so 1 minute left. Anybody else have a question?
I did have a quick question. Hi, Guruji.
Hi, Krishna.
I have a question. Hi, Krishna.
Yeah, what's the
I had a
question?
question about, so it mentioned not to do the marriage ceremony mentioned in this chapter, but is there one that's more acceptable?
Yeah, it's the standard ISKCON one that Prabhupada did, which is quite a bit simpler. And there's also expanded ones. Prabhupada did it very simple. It was basically, a few little things like the Sapta. Anyway, it's a little more complicated than we have time for, but it's like taking 7 steps and exchanging garlands. And that Prabhupada's marriage ceremony was very simple like that. And what's called the Mangala Charna prayers, the auspicious prayers of the spiritual masters and the incarnations of the Lord. And then a fire sacrifice done at the same time as the prayers. It was very simple. Certainly not a 3-day affair or a 7-day affair like they have in India. I've done a little more complicated marriages for some of my disciples, and that usually takes about 2 hours, and that's about my limit. My limit, and it's the limit. Of course, the ladies, they can go for days at a marriage. They just like eat it all up, It's just like, oh my God, isn't this sweet? Isn't this wonderful? Whereas the men, they're thinking, when will it end? We get to the real point of taking prasadam. So, all right. So, okay. Is Srimati Bhakti Devi the aunt of Jnana? That's an interesting question. Aunt of Jnana. I don't know. I don't think so. She's the mother of Bhakti. Okay. So, we'll see everybody tomorrow, same time, same station. All